thank you guys for joining. I'm excited to get into a day in the life of a real estate agent. Uh, I've spoken to all of you, so we all know each other. I'm Brian, obviously. I'm a local real estate agent, been a real estate agent here in Pittsburgh since 2016, and I absolutely love the business. It's done amazing things for me, for my family, for all of us, so I get excited whenever I have an opportunity to share that with other people. So I am going to share my screen here, and we're going to get right into it. Okay. And I am not a webinar guru or anything like that by any means, so thank you for bearing with me throughout the course of this thing. But like I said, I just get excited to show people and talk with people about what it is like. So, and let me just do this so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, who do I have on camera? Anybody who can answer me or throw something in the chat. Can you see my screen here? It should say a day in the life of a real estate agent. Just want to make sure before I fly too far ahead here.
Yeah, we can see it.
Awesome. Thank you all. Okay. So yeah, so we are here to learn about what a day in the life of a real estate agent is really like, what the life of a real estate agent is really like. You've probably heard different things from different people. Some of them may be in the business. Obviously, a lot of people outside the business have a lot of different opinions about what do real estate agents actually do? How come some agents seem to be like super successful and some are not? What does it take to get started? How do real estate agents get paid? That's all the stuff that we're going to kind of cover here. Let me make sure I have this working. Okay, so I said I was going to unmute in a second and give you guys a little bit of a chance to engage here. Again, I know some of you are driving in the car. Anybody, if you want to unmute yourself and jump in, or you can jump into the chat, although I don't know if I can actually see the chat here while I have this on presentation mode, but tell me what's driving you to real estate? What has led you to being on this webinar or this meeting, whatever you want to call it? What has you curious or interested in real estate?
See, I can go first. I know for me, Brian, I've been the paramedic for 25 years. It's just starting to look for other avenues out there. I mean, I can't be a paramedic forever. It takes a toll on your body. So it seems like you do well. It seems like you really enjoyed it. So something I wanted to look at and kind of see if it's something I can explore and maybe get into.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's been amazing for me and for my family. I'll go into my background a little bit in a minute here, or actually in a couple seconds probably. But I got into the business in 2016. I was a union sheet metal worker and a project manager for a mechanical contractor that did union sheet metal work. And I did that for 12 years. And like you said, Jim, it kind of starts to take its toll. And you start to look for other things, and real estate was that thing for me. It's done amazing things for me, as I've already said. I've seen it do amazing things for so many other people, and it's not for everybody. Maybe it's not going to be for you. My goal here for this webinar is really to get everybody some information so that they can make a decision of whether or not this could be the thing that they've been kind of looking for. So and sometimes people get into it for that reason. They just don't feel like they really have control. They're maybe following a career path or career, climbing the career ladder, the corporate ladder, whatever they call it. And but really feeling like their steps or their kind of trajectory is limited, and you want to take control of your future. Maybe you're just not making enough income at your current job and you're looking to supplement that. Maybe you're happy in your career for the most part, but you just need a little bit of supplemental income. Maybe you're interested in investing in real estate and just different aspects of real estate in general. And, you saw my webinar, and real estate agent is the closest possible opportunity that you've seen to get in and just learn more about real estate in general. That's cool too. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I know a lot of real estate agents that get into the business for that reason. They're interested in investing, or they're already investing, and it's just it's another kind of way into the business. maybe you're looking to build a business. Nowadays, it's a growing trend. I don't know anything about this personally because I told you my background story, but there's a lot of younger business people coming out of college and with, MBAs or whatever business degrees that are looking at real estate and going, yeah, okay, that seems like a business that I could do. And they set out from day one to really build it as a business, which is obviously can be a lot different than just doing it for some supplemental income. And we have people in the business that are doing it at all different types of levels. Okay, so yeah, so that's me. I think I pretty much already told you guys my story. Anybody that doesn't know, I got 5 kids. I got licensed in 2016, built my business. I was still working full time at that job that I already mentioned. Did that for about a year and a half before I transitioned into full time. Uh, Started a team in 2018, so I started bringing on other agents with me onto my team so that I could kind of mentor them and we could work together and leverage our collective efforts to do more and be able to achieve more, which is better for everybody. And I am with Keller Williams Realty in Wexford. We do business all over Pittsburgh. It's not a commercial for me or for my team or for Keller Williams. Like I said, my goal for this webinar is to get you the information that you need to make a decision that's best for you. That said, we're always looking to grow and we're always looking to be surrounded by, other like-minded, success-driven people. So if it is something that you're interested in, I'll be happy to continue to talk with you guys after this. But again, really looking to just get you everything that you feel that you need to know about the life of a real estate agent. So we're going to cover what the job includes. We're going to talk about, what it takes to really be successful as an agent. Some of you guys saw my Facebook post. You saw, I threw out a couple numbers of, different income levels and things like that. Not everybody gets to those levels of income in the first year. Some people do. Sometimes it takes 2 years. Some people never get there. What does it take to actually do it, though? And there's a formula for it. I'll just tell you that right up front. And we'll walk through that formula a little bit. What's it take to have work-life balance? Maybe some of these agents that you see, or again, maybe you saw my Facebook post and you're like, oh, $100,000 a year from real estate seems great. Am I ever going to see my family again if I have to do it at that level? How we get paid. What you need a real estate license to do, what you don't need a real estate license to do. You need a real estate license to be a quote unquote real estate agent. Just spoiler alert, I'll put that out there now. We'll talk more about that later and what it takes to get your license and all of that. But there's some aspects of the job that don't require you to have a real estate license. Like I said, I think that real estate is probably not for everyone, although I would argue that there's probably some aspect of or job or responsibility or role within the real estate field that could probably match any personality type or the individual strengths, and we'll talk about that here. Again, what it's like to change people's lives, helping people, that's ultimately, I'm talking a lot about myself and about you guys and why you might want to get into the business. But, one of the things that keeps you going, there's a lot of things out there that you can make money doing. I don't want to take it for granted, but, for all intents and purposes of this webinar, we're kind of talking about the business end and the back end of what it takes to get started. One of the things that I'm sure probably attracts you to real estate in general, if you're on here with me, is that you see the end results of that. You see people's lives being changed, the smiling faces when, somebody gets their first home or their second home, third home, when somebody's upgrading a home, or, obviously there's some negative life events that happen too sometimes that go into people's real estate decisions, but we get to be a big part of people's lives. And then, of course, we're going to talk about how to get started, like I said. So I'm going to take another poll here. Anybody, again, if you're not driving home, no pressure, but if you're not in the car, unmute yourself or throw it in the chat. I can see the chat, actually. I'm going to go back here. Alexis said she wants to have a career, not just a job, wants to invest, build her own business, and more freedom. That's awesome, Alexis. And I actually saw your question about investing in real estate that I somehow missed earlier in the week. So we'll talk more about that too. But anybody else, what do you know about the job of a real estate agent? What do you think you know? Throw it in the chat or speak up. Or maybe nobody wants to speak up.
I say, I guess you guys get paid on commission, obviously. I know just from you helping us to look for a house, you do a lot of driving.
Well, sometimes we do. Sometimes we do. Only for the clients that we really like. So that's good. Yeah, I mean the driving thing, I think that's like a common perception that people have of real estate agents. Um, and if you don't mind me sharing just a little bit about you guys. So you guys obviously bought a house in Elwood City and
Yeah,
I
good.
live in Hampton. So that was about as far as I typically ever go. And I don't take a ton of clients in Elwood City. So there I am being serious when I say only for the clients that we like. But there's certain seasons, certain clients, certain situations. Yeah, you might do a whole lot of driving. I might put, whatever, 2,000 miles on the car in 1 month, but then, not do a whole lot of driving the next month after that. It really depends. So, so here's what I think most people know the job of a real estate agent includes showing houses, taking buyers, opening doors, showing them the houses. Of course, the houses are always beautiful, right? Marketing houses. You see agents nowadays, especially just posting a lot on Facebook, making reels, making TikToks, just marketing themselves, marketing their listings, all of that. And then, you sell houses and you attend closings, right? That's it. That's all the job includes. Actually, no, there's a lot more. This is, and this is just and I'm trying to move this little video thing out of the way here so it's not cutting anything off. But you can see here, this is just kind of a glimpse into a real quick list actually that I just kind of like brainstormed and threw together. There's probably a lot more here, but it's not just showing houses and marketing and attending closings, generating what we call listing leads, right? So Jim, when you came to me and wanted to buy a house, you hired me to help you essentially find a house that we were going to buy, right? So as a buyer, you wanted listings. We needed to get some leads on some listings. There wasn't a lot of listings on the market. We needed to get some leads. Sellers, when they call us and say, "Hey, can you help me sell my house?" They want buyers. They come to us because they go, "You probably have leads on some people that are thinking about buying." So it's a sales term, but generating listing leads, generating buyer leads, buyer consultations, seller consultations. We work or we have the option to work with people who are selling their homes. They contact us and say, "Hey, I want to sell my home. Can you help me?" And we have the option to work with people who are looking to buy a home, and they call and say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a home. Can you help me?" Um, Alicia said, showing houses to your clients, marketing yourself to get clients. Exactly. Researching listings. Yes. Being available to show houses during the times your clients are available. That's something we can talk more about. Looking for listings that maybe haven't hit the market yet. Bingo. Know your clients' needs and wants and being respectful of their price point. Absolutely. Thank you, Alicia, for that. And I think, that's kind of covered here on this list as well. Coordinating those showings, like Alicia said, during the hours that work for your clients. There is a level of making sure that it does work for you. A lot of real estate agents will say that they have absolutely no control over their schedule. That's not really true. It doesn't have to be true. Writing offers. Once you find that house, you write up the offer, send it over to the sellers, and then you negotiate that offer. Or if you're working with the sellers, you're negotiating on behalf of the sellers. Coordinating home inspections, negotiating after you do the home inspection. If there's repairs that need done, somebody's got to help the clients negotiate back and forth. Who's going to make the repairs? Showing houses on here again, maybe? No, I guess that's it. Showing houses. Yeah, it's on there twice. Coordinating with lenders, with appraisers, with closing companies, with municipalities. There's so many different parties involved when somebody is buying a house. It takes somebody kind of quarterbacking the process or just coordinating between the lenders, the appraisers, the closing companies, the municipalities. Who needs to get into the house on which day so they can do what kind of inspection and who needs what paperwork or what documents at which date and which timelines to make sure that ultimately that the house gets to the closing on time. There's a lot of work there. Transferring the utilities. You don't want your buyer to buy the house and you go to closing and they take the picture with you and everybody's smiling and they're holding up the sold sign, and then they drive to the house and they're so excited and they open the door and there's pitch black because nobody told them you got to call the electric company and turn the lights on, or transfer the electricity into your name, right? Scheduling those closings. I guess this is kind of a little out of order here, but final walkthroughs, negotiating possession. Buyers don't always get possession. They don't always get the keys at the closing. Sometimes they sign the papers and they close and they hand over the money and they technically own the house, but the seller says, hey, will you let us stay living in the house for an extra week? Give us an extra week to get out of the house. We'll rent it back from you, right? So now you have to negotiate possession of the house. What happens after the closing? Installing the lock boxes, taking the lock boxes off, hanging the sign writers, meeting photographers, updating the MLS, collecting the earnest money deposits, coordinating with the photographers. Again, not in any particular order here at this point. Signs, brochures, doing open houses, responding to the inquiries, the calls, the text messages, the emails, reverse prospecting, which is something we don't have to get into, email marketing. And then, you got to attend trainings and do continuing ed. The business is always changing. The market's always changing. You got to make sure that you're staying up on everything, right? So this is a lot. And this is where, a lot of agents say, you work 24/7, you put a lot of miles on your car, you never sleep, you never have any control of your schedule, right? So, like I said, that's not all true. It doesn't have to be. You'll see here that on this list of things on the screen that, some of these items have asterisks next to them. What I did is I went through this list and I really took the time to put asterisks next to the things that a high quality or a real estate agent who is offering a high level, a high quality of service is doing for their clients. These are things that you have to have a real estate license to do, by the way. I can hire someone or pay someone or delegate the marketing. Most of our clients don't even attend the closings, so we don't have to attend the closings if our client's not even going to be there. I can get an assistant or somebody, I can hire somebody to help me coordinate showings. These aren't the highest and best uses of my time as an agent. Again, when I started as an agent, I was working a full-time job already. I didn't have time to do all of this stuff. If we're just going to get ahead of ourselves and kind of set a foundation for, being a strong business person, I believe a lot in delegation. I believe a lot in elimination. And the saying actually is, eliminate first and then automate and then delegate. And then I always add on and then regulate, right? What can I regulate into my schedule? What can I delegate? What can I automate? What can I eliminate? You can't really eliminate showing houses. Somebody has to do that. Can you delegate it? Yeah, you can delegate it. I can pay another agent, or if you're on a team, maybe you get another agent to show the houses for you because you're working a full-time job. Maybe you're on a team and the team does all the marketing for you. Again, maybe you don't, maybe you just eliminate attending closings altogether. Maybe you're on a team and they generate some leads for you. Or maybe all you do is generate the leads and then you kind of hand them off to somebody else. There's a lot of different ways that this business can be done. And again, that's why I say there's a little bit of something in this business for everybody. Maybe you're looking at this list and you're thinking, I would really love to show houses, but I really don't want to coordinate with lenders and appraisers and closing companies. I really don't think I have the time to do that. I work a 9-to-5 job or a 7 to 6. Somebody on here that I talked to, I won't single anybody out, but yeah, I know like some of us are working 10-hour days. The lender's probably only going to answer the phone between 9 and 5 o'clock. So how are you going to do that, right? Well, you can get somebody else to do that kind of stuff for you. Or maybe you're like, yeah, no, I wouldn't mind actually making some phone calls during the day and coordinating with the lenders and the appraisers and, picking up the phone and generating listing leads is the thing that really worries me or kind of scares me that I wouldn't want to do. Alicia said you can name my name. So Alicia was telling me she works like, 10-hour days, right? So Alicia, I said, you can make a serious, significant income in this business, as I did in my first, 2 years in this business. Um, you're just not going to do everything on this list. You're going to have to outsource. You're going to have to delegate. You're going to have to, again, get on a team or lean on some kind of a resource. Go to a brokerage. Again, I'm with Keller Williams. It's not a commercial for Keller Williams. There's other brokerages out there that maybe offer some of these coordination services. There's other, private companies and third-party companies out there that offer some of these services. It really comes down to working to your strengths. And I could stay on that list, and you guys could have your real estate licenses for 10 years, and we could still stay on that list, and I could still talk about it all day. Because I think that's where a lot of real estate agents, they lack that foundation. They get into the business and they see a list of 100 things, and they think that they need to jump right in and do all of it right away. And a lot of the stuff on that list can be eliminated, delegated, automated. The stuff that can't, just regulate it into your schedule and figure out, okay, I only have 2 hours tonight. Where am I going to spend it? Well, you want to spend it working within your strengths. Everybody's strengths are a little bit different, right? So this is a tool that we use. We call it the KPA. It's the Keller Personality Assessment. And this is a tool where you take an assessment, and I'm going to get you guys a link to be able to do this if you'd like at the end of the webinar, if you stay tuned. And you take this test, and it basically tells you like which one of those jobs or which job role that might entail some of those responsibilities that were on that list that we just looked at, where would you really be strong at? So this is a job fit profile of somebody that ranked high or was rated high for the job of a mega agent. A mega agent being an agent who sells like more than $10 million worth of real estate a year. It's intensity, it's their vocabulary, it's their adaptability. Now, I don't know, this is an actual screenshot of a test. I don't know whose this actually is. I thought it was mine. And then as I'm looking at it here, I see optimism is like really high up, and I'm definitely not that optimistic. So this is definitely not mine, but I got this screenshot. I pulled it from somewhere. Adaptability, optimism, problem solving, responsiveness, visualization, assertiveness. None of this might really mean anything to you here right now, but different personality strengths might be more attracted to different roles within the real estate business that entail different responsibilities. So the other part of it is, again, what's your availability, right? If you're available 2 hours a night, you're not going to fit in every single thing on that list. If you're available 10 hours a night, where are you going to work within your strengths? What are you going to do? There's a lot of different jobs out there that are available to you as a real estate agent, or somebody that has a real estate license, or somebody who says, you know what, I'd rather just focus on some of those processes and those roles and responsibilities that legally don't require a real estate license. And then what are your goals, right? Do you want to, supplement your income and make another $10,000 or $20,000 a year? Or did you see my Facebook post about making $100,000 a year? Or are you like, no, I really want to build a business out of this thing. I want to be the next Keller Williams. I want to be the next Howard Hanna. I want to own 10 Coldwell Banker offices, whatever. These are all franchise, name brands. You can do that. You can go and buy a Remax if you would like to, right? Maybe you were really thinking big and thinking about building a business at that level. It all depends. What are your goals? What are your strengths? What's your availability right now or in the future? And how can you work to those strengths and find the roles and responsibilities that are going to complement those strengths. So just checking the chat here, checking the time, doing okay on time. I'm talking fast. Thank you guys for being okay with that. I know everybody wants to talk about how agents get paid. Do you guys want to hear about how agents get paid? If nobody answers, I'm just going to assume everybody wants to talk about how agents get paid. So I'm going to give you guys just a general breakdown here. We're in Western Pennsylvania. I think just about everybody on here is in Western Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh market, pretty much. Average sale price is a little over $200,000. Let's just call it $200,000. And let's say that agent commission, which is negotiable, you can see I have that on here. That's the disclaimer. Let's just say that total commission is 6% of $200,000. A seller comes to you and says, I want to sell my house. And you do an analysis and you say, yeah, based on my expertise as a professional real estate agent, I think this house will sell for about $200,000. And they say, how much do you charge? We charge 6%. Here's the breakdown though. You would tell that client, that seller, we're going to market your house directly to buyers, and we're going to market your house to other agents who may be working with buyers or representing buyers. And in doing that, we are going to offer to split the commission with them. We're going to pay them. Think of it as a finder's fee. That agent represents their client in their best interest, but we're going to pay them the finder's fee. So we're going to split the commission with them 3%, 3%. Now, these are all negotiable numbers as well, but these are just kind of general. I don't know if I'd call them averages, but just kind of common numbers. Now, here's the thing where like a lot of real estate agents get misled. That's $6,000. Let's say you're the listing agent. That's $6,000. Do you make $6,000? No, probably not. There's something in this business called cost of sales. And this is something, especially at this point, you guys don't even have your licenses yet. You go through all the exams and all of that stuff, and they probably won't talk about cost of sales. And then you'll get into business and you'll think you know how you get paid. And then you start talking to people and you're like, oh, I'm not going to make as much as I thought. And then somebody else comes along and says, oh, no, go work with so-and-so. They'll pay you 100% of your commission. You'll make that full $6,000. That's almost never true. No matter what, as a new agent starting out, you're going to have a cost of sales. And I always say, as a new agent, you should plan on that cost of sales being about 40%. Cost of sales being money that you have to spend every time you get a sale. And it's going to be about 40% of that sale. Reason being, in the state of Pennsylvania and just about every other state, as a real estate agent, you have to be licensed under a licensed broker. So we have agents and then we have brokers. Every real estate office or real estate company would have a broker. They're kind of in charge. All the real estate agents work underneath them. You cannot, as a real estate agent who's only licensed as an agent, I'm not licensed as a broker myself. I couldn't go out there and start Brian Riley Real Estate Company, right? I have my own business. I'm the Brian Riley team, but I'm brokered by Keller Williams. Keller Williams is going to take a cut of every sale that I make. Whatever broker you go to, it doesn't matter. That it might vary here and there. You might join a team. I always say it's going to average between 40 and 60% cost of sales. So for intents of this example, or for the intent of this example, I called it 40%. Now, starting off, hopefully your expenses in your business are going to be pretty low. Again, this is a business. You are going to have some expenses. Don't think of it like a job, a W-2 salary. Even though on that list of things to do, there may be some things where you could get paid a salary. But if you're looking to be an agent and do this on your own and start your own business, you're looking at probably 10% in expenses. So out of that $6,000, about 50% or $3,000 of it's going to go towards cost of sales and expenses, and you're going to walk away with about $3,000. And if any of you guys don't like math, I apologize for the long-winded answer, but I told you I was going to make this informative. What you need to know is that, out of that $6,000 commission, you make about $3,000. So on $200,000, or on any commission for that matter, you should plan on really walking away with about 1.5%. Now, again, there's a lot of different companies and a lot of different business models out there. Keller Williams, we actually have a cap model on the commissions. No reason really to get too deep into that right now, but just know you'll hear some places say like, no, we have a 90% commission where you keep 90% of your commission and the company only takes 10. Usually what ends up happening with that is the company's not giving you much. The company's not helping you with any of those roles or responsibilities that were on that list. So what do you end up doing? You end up having to outsource those or go and pay for new tools so that you can try to automate some of those responsibilities. And maybe you only have a 10% cost of sales, but your expenses goes way up and you're at like 60% expenses or something like that. That's why I say, just to lay the foundation for you guys, can keep in mind it's going to be about 50%. And on that $200,000 sale, if you sell 10 homes, you're going to make $30,000. And I have on here higher cost of sales, lower expenses. That's kind of a new agent, somebody that comes in the business in their first year. They sell 10 homes, they make $30,000. That is, off of a $60,000 gross commission, right? Because it was $6,000 for every sale times 10 sales was $60,000. But their cost of sales was a big chunk of that, for a 40%. And then, but they have slightly, they have low expenses. As you start to build your business and you get better and better, bigger and bigger, more clients, you take that $3,000 and let's say you sell 100 homes now a year. That's about two a week. That's very doable, especially if you're on a team and especially if you're delegating and leveraging some of those the other tasks that were on that list. You can make $300,000 off of that. Now that's going to look a little bit different. At that point, you're doing a lot of business. You probably go to your broker and say, "Hey, I'm tired of paying you 40% or whatever," or maybe you are on a cap model where you produce up to a certain level and then you're done. You only pay the broker so much. You don't continue to pay 40% out of every transaction forever. You pay your broker up to a certain dollar amount, and then you don't pay them anything after that the rest of the year. That's what a cap model is. So you would have a lower cost of sales. But as you continue to grow, you're listing more homes, you're paying a professional photographer to go out to more homes, so more photos, more cost, more signs, more marketing materials, all of that stuff. You'll start to see the expenses get a little bit higher. And you'll probably see a lower profit margin. Up here at this 10 sales a year, it was about a 50% profit margin. You'll probably see about 40 if you get to the level where you're selling 100 homes a year. I know agents in other cities. I know agents in this city that are selling 300 homes a year. I know an agent in Cleveland, Ohio that sells 500 homes a year. I know an agent in California, another agent in Florida, they sell a few thousand homes a year on a team. They have a team of people, they're delegating responsibilities, they're working together and leveraging their efforts. That the team leader, the person in charge of that team isn't making 50%, they're probably making 20%. So, again, in the example that I gave, some of you guys saw in my Facebook post where I said, do you want to make $100,000? Well, there's a couple different ways you can do that. Most people's first year is going to look like this. It's going to be about 30,000. That's what my first year was. Maybe it's a little more, maybe it's less. If your average price point starting out is, $400,000, just maybe that's because of the area where you live. Maybe that's the people that live in $400,000 houses that are likely to hire you, your friends and family, whatever it may be. Maybe you don't have any of that. Maybe you're ready to go out there and start like knocking on some doors and again generating some leads. That was kind of why I wanted to get into the business. I wanted the ability to do that if that's what I needed to do to get to like this level here. I said, what do I need to do to sell 100 homes? What do I need to do to sell 1,000? And when you talk to the right people, they'll tell you at any number, it could be 1,000,000 homes a year. Here's the formula. Here's how many doors you have to go knock on. Here's how many calls you have to make. Here's how many people you have to talk to get to that level. If you're selling $400,000 homes, you would only need to sell, 5 homes to get to $30,000 or 10, or let's say 15 homes, and you're making, 6,000 on each one, you make $75,000 your first year. So higher average sales price will help you get more commissions. Again, in this scenario, this is $3,000 times 100 homes. Maybe you sell $3,000 times 35 homes. There's your $100,000 right there. That is certainly doable. It's doable in the first year. Not everybody's going to do it. It's certainly doable in the second year. I did over $100,000 my second year in the business. I transitioned out of my full-time job that year from doing real estate part-time. Got to the point where not only was the money there, but I was busy enough and I wanted to ensure that I was taking the best care of my clients that I could. So I walked away from that job, went full time, finished out the year, made more money in that year than I had ever made from my full-time job. I had other agents come on my team, same thing. They're on my team for a couple months, finish out the calendar year. Second year, their first full year in the business, they made $100,000. How much do you want to work, right? How many conversations, how many people are you willing to talk to? So, I'm going to stop and take a sip of my water and ask if anybody has any questions on how real estate agents get paid or any of that stuff that I talked about up to this point. Should ask you guys how much you want to make, put you on the spot. And again, not that it's all about the money, but that's, I'm assuming these are the kind of things you guys are here to learn about today. Okay. So how do you become a real estate agent? How do you get a real estate license? You got to be 18 years of age minimum. I think everybody on here's got that covered. Must have a high school education or GED. You take 75 credit hours of real estate pre-licensing classes. It's actually broken into two classes. One of them is 30 credit hours. One of them is 45 credit hours. There's a couple different ways that you can take those classes. We'll get into that here more in a second. Once you finish those 75 hours, you take an exam. The exam is proctored by, it's not really proctored by the state, but think of it kind of like your driver's license exam, or some of us have kids that have taken driver's license exams. You go and you kind of sit in a booth and you do the whole thing on the computer, but somebody's kind of watching you. You go and you do that. You pass. They give you the transcripts. Send them to the state. Send them away to the state, and get your real estate license. So there's 80 questions on the national exam, 30 questions on the state exam. Real estate licenses are handled by the states, right? So the state of Pennsylvania has their own requirements. If you were in Ohio or West Virginia, these hours might be different. Every state has a national portion of the exam. National exam tends to deal more with like mortgages, fair housing laws, things like that are on a national basis. The state exam has to do more with like licensing and what you're actually allowed to do in that state. So Kristen said, and I'm sorry, I'm like one slide behind every time I'm reading these chat messages, but Kristen said 100,000 would be nice. She said she's quiet. She's working 16 hours. My goodness. That is why she's leaning towards being an agent. I feel you. I'm with you there. All right. So what does it cost to get licensed? I don't sell anything that has to do with any of this stuff. Just putting that out there right now. I'm just giving you guys information about what it takes. There's a lot of different real estate schools out there. Alicia, you've already started yours. I sent you a school. You said, hey, I found another school. That's great. That's awesome. We just want you to get get your classes done, take your exam and pass and get your license. But you can take classes that are led by an instructor. You can do this in person. There's real estate schools everywhere. Just a kind of a spoiler alert, a lot of the real estate schools here locally are actually owned and led by real estate companies, right? So like Keller, it's technically a different company. It's two separate companies, but a lot of the same people who work at Keller Williams also work over at Academic Institute of Real Estate. That's the name of their school. Coldwell Banker, same thing. They just happen to have a school that they rent space to up on the second floor of their office building. Like every real estate company pretty much has a school. You can do it at CCAC even, and a couple other places that maybe aren't affiliated with brokerages. Typically, that's going to cost you between $400 and $500. If you're doing it that way, I've seen it every different way from, you could go somewhere for 8 hours a day and knock out the whole 75 hours in like 2 weeks. Now they'll only do that a couple times a year. So you might end up like if you said, oh, you have to look on the calendar, right? Maybe those classes start in June. So that's coming right up. You sign up and then in June, you'd have to be able to actually physically go there every day for 2 weeks. There's other ones that are just in the evening. Now, there's like the Academic Institute of Real Estate. I know they do it on Google Meets. So it's led by an instructor, but it's in the evenings and it's on Google Meets. And it's like 3 hours a night, 2 nights a week for like 12 weeks, something like that. You can do it online, totally self-guided. This is what I did when I was doing mine. Again, I was working Guys, I'll tell you what, when I signed up for my real estate classes, I didn't even have the $500 or the $400 to take the classes. So I was working during the day and then I was going out and driving Uber to save up enough money. And I told you I'll go back. Let me see. There's 30 hours of fundamentals and 45 hours of practice. So it's broken up into like two different classes. Each class was $250. I was just trying to save up $250 to pay for the first class, right? The first part of the classes. Alicia said hers was $450, but there were packages as low as $299. Online, self-guided at your own pace. I chose the higher package to have an option to reach out to teachers. Yeah, that's nice. So Alicia's got the option with her package to be able to actually reach out and get, I guess, one-to-one support. But everything else is totally self-guided. That's what I was doing on my lunch break. I have an hour lunch break. I'd spend, between 45 minutes and an hour just going through, reading, clicking the buttons. Some of them have some short videos you can watch, and then you take a little practice test at the end of each section just to, I guess, show them that you actually were following along. Which some days I was probably following along more than others, but I passed the test and it kept letting me move forward. Did that for about 3 months. Again, still kind of. I started the first part of the classes and I was driving Uber in the evening because I knew I was going to need to pay for the second half of the classes pretty soon, right? Did that for a while. For me, it took about 3 months. I know people who have done it in 2 weeks. I know people who have done it, 6 months. I know people who've taken longer than that, but usually there's some kind of a life event or something got in the way or something at that point. It's 75 hours. Um, Kristen probably works 75 hours a week, so you can knock that out in no time. Once you're done with that, like I said, you take the exam. It's proctored by the state. It's $55 roughly. These are estimates. Again, I'm not the one charging any of these fees. I'm just trying to give you guys an idea. Once you pass the exam, some people take the exam more than once. Some people have to take it a couple times. Kristen said I have, and it's not fun. But it's $55 to take the exam each time that you sit for it. Some people I know, like a lot of people I know actually, they'll pass the national portion of it the first time, but not the state. They'll be like one question off. So they have to go back and just retake the state. I don't know if that costs $55 or if it's only half, but it is what it is. I know people who have had to take the state one, 2 or 3 or 4 times. Once you get that done, you get a background check. You gotta, of course, you're dealing with the state, you're dealing with the government, so they're gonna want some money, more money, as much as they can get. You're gonna send in your application. It's about $100, 107 actually. We had to look it up, assuming this slide is updated. As of a couple weeks ago, it was. You get your license, and then you'll probably want to join a board. You don't have to join a board. That's if you've heard of like the Board of Realtors or National Association of Realtors. Um, there's a local chat. It's called the Real Estate Association of Metropolitan Pittsburgh. That's something else we don't have to really get too far into, but just giving you an idea of the total cost. Again, with the school, this is like an either or option. Let's say it's 500 there. You have about 70 or 80 here, another 100 here. So that's 600, 680, 550. You're about $1,000, $1,200 over the course of, however long it takes you, obviously, between when you start the classes and when you actually get the license and join a board. And again, the board membership is actually optional, but that's a whole nother thing that we could talk about. I'm not going to get too far into this. Once you pass the exam, once you pass the exam, that's when you go out and you find a brokerage, right? Because you can't actually have a license in Pennsylvania, as I said before, without being partnered or working under a broker. So usually that's the point once people have passed their exam where they're going to call me or call somebody and say like, hey, I just passed my exam. I'm interested in, interviewing, sitting down and seeing what Keller Williams has to offer as a brokerage to see if I should partner with them, or go sit down with Coldwell Banker and see if you should partner with them, Howard Hanna, Berkshire Hathaway. Obviously, I'm biased to the company where I'm at, but that's not for everybody either. Again, it depends on the way you want to handle your business, what support specifically you are looking for you and for your lifestyle and your business and your goals. And there's a lot of different companies out there. Once you pick a company, here's 2 forms of ID. Here's my transcript. It says that I passed. Here's everything. Here's my background check. You sign an agreement with them. You're an independent contractor working for them. That's why I say usually you don't collect a salary, because you're an independent contractor. You go out and you produce. Now, you could team up with some people that can help you in your production. There are even some real estate companies out there that pay salaries to their agents. I don't think they make as much in the long term, but the pros and cons, the trade-off there is they get, secured income or guaranteed income on a W-2 every week. It just might not be as much as, somebody who takes the risk and goes out there and generates their own leads and drives their own business. So again, not a commercial for our brokerage, but I know that, that's where you're going to need some support when you get to the point where you've got the license and now you're talking to a lot of brokerages, you're hearing them. Everybody's going to say that they have the best compensation plan. You're going to make the most money if you go to work there. They've got all the best softwares and the best technologies and the best tools that are going to help you. That's all great. Every company offers that kind of stuff. Again, I think a lot of it is very specific to you and your needs. You got to find the company that's going to align with you and give you the ability to actually grow and to reach those goals. For me, for Keller Williams, it was more about the mission, the vision and values, the core beliefs, there's the belief system that Keller Williams has in general, as opposed to, some of those other companies where I would go in and they say, oh, if you come here, you're going to make more money. And, I'm at a point in my business where I can do the math. I just showed you guys the math. I know how much I make on a given transaction, and I can say, well, based on your cost of sales versus what my cost of sales would be at this other brokerage, I'm actually not going to make more money here. Or maybe I am, but look, I'm trying to sell 1,000 homes a year here. And if you can't support me in doing that, then I don't care if I can make a little bit more money per sale, but do a lot less sales, right? Like, I have a vision of where I'm going. And for me, Keller Williams aligned with that vision. It aligns with my values. Uh, we have our perspective. We have the Keller Williams belief system. That was the thing that made me choose Keller Williams, and the thing that actually fires me up. Like when I go into the office on a daily basis, which you don't have to do, but I do. I'm in the office and I like the environment and I like the culture because of all of that. Other companies might have their own great culture. It's based around a different set of beliefs. They may or may not even know what their beliefs are. We have it written on the wall at our office. I love that. Not every company that I've been to has it. And then, of course, like I said, there's a lot of real estate schools out there and a lot of options. There are some scholarship programs. A lot of these companies will say, if you partner with us, we'll pay money towards part of your real estate classes. Sometimes they'll tell you you pay up front, but then we'll reimburse you once you come on board as a licensed real estate agent. And if it's $500 to take your classes, we'll pay you back $250 from each of your first 2 sales. That was the way that I did it. Keller Williams School, or AIR, Academy, Academic Institute of Real Estate, has a different kind of scholarship program where they'll cover, I think, close to half of the cost up front. But again, you have to sign something that says that you're intending to go with Keller Williams, because ultimately Keller Williams is the company that's actually paying the Academic Institute of Real Estate in providing those scholarships. So there's also, let me go back on that. So, Keller Williams also has an online school called K-Score, where you can actually take classes for free. It's free to you. It's paid for by Keller Williams. It's not provided by Keller Williams. It's actually provided by Kaplan Institute. So we've kind of partnered with them, and they offer some free classes there. But, again, whatever you got to do. I know people who have went on Groupon and found good deals on classes. Usually there's something missing there. Like, you're going to want to get some practice exams. You're going to want to have access to, like Alicia said, like one-on-one support if necessary. You're doing it self-guided, but it's always good when you get stuck on something, if there's like a person that you can actually reach out to and say, like, hey, can you clarify this for me? Somebody who's a trained and licensed real estate instructor. And of course, if you go through like an in-person or Google Meets, version, of course, you're going to have an instructor right then and there to help you with that. So, okay, I feel like I did really well on time here. KPA, I mentioned that to you guys. This is the last slide that I have on here. I will open it up to some questions, but I told you if you hung with me until the end, I was going to get you access to this tool. I think it's just a really cool tool. It's a personality assessment, but it's going to tell you where your strengths are in business. It's going to tell you where your strengths are in real estate. It's going to tell you about yourself. I just have my wife take one. My wife has her real estate license, but we actually just looked at the personal side of it. I know people who have had their kids take these. I actually would like to do that myself here. I just keep forgetting to actually send it to them and force them to sit down and take it. It's just a really cool personality tool to tell you some stuff about yourself from kind of a business and personal perspective. So if you're interested in getting that KPA, Jenna already texted KPA to that number that you see there on the screen, 412-212-0701. And that is all that I have. That is the least that I've talked about real estate ever in my life. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so for like taxes, I know it says all that's before taxes. Do you put some of that aside so now in the year you're not owing the government thousands upon thousands of dollars?
So yes, definitely want to put some of that aside and of course talk to your tax accountant and figure out, are you at a 10 or 20, 30% tax bracket? You could also talk to your accountant and say, so you're an independent contractor. For me, I got to a point in my business where it made sense for me to form my own LLC. Again, I can't be my own real estate company. I'm still Brian Riley, but I also have an LLC. So when I get paid, those commission checks go into that LLC, and then I pay myself out of the LLC. It has to do with payroll taxes and employment taxes and the way that those are kind of allocated. So you definitely, they're not going to take taxes out of your commission check. So when you get that commission check, and let's say it is $3,000, get ready to put, whatever, at least 20% of it probably aside.
Now imagine health insurance for most places you're on your own.
Yes. As an independent contractor, if you're full time, if you're doing this part time and you have another job or you have a spouse, significant other who's, got a job that offers health insurance, that's obviously a benefit. We don't have that luxury, so we pay for our own health insurance. You know, that was a tough trade-off, more so for Lisa than it was for me at the beginning, like a scary thing where I always had health insurance through my job. Lisa didn't work, so she, that wasn't an option. But for me, it was like I'll pay, even if I don't care if it's 15 grand a year that I have to pay in health insurance costs to get good health insurance, if I'm going to make $100,000 more than I was going to make from my job before. And by the way, I use the health insurance a lot less because it's amazing what not working in a stressful environment that you don't enjoy actually going to every day does for your health and your wellness. That's a whole nother thing.
So I had a question.
Yes.
I don't drive, so a lot of this doesn't apply to me, but you and I had talked about like inside sales. So if maybe now's not a good time, we could follow up, but like if you have a minute to sort of talk about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I'm going to go back here to this list of what the job includes. So,
Okay, cool.
without driving, you're not going to go out and show houses. You can still work on marketing. You're not going to attend closings. You can still generate listing leads. You can still generate buyer leads. You can still do buyer consultations, seller consultations, over Zoom, which is probably easy. Both can be done. But buyer consultations definitely, I'm sorry, I'm pointing at the wrong one here. Buyer consultations definitely can be done over Zoom. I do it that way all the time. Seller consultations, maybe that's one of those things where you talk to somebody on the phone. They tell you they're interested in selling their house. And then you say, you know what, awesome, I'm going to have Brian from my office or whoever, an associate of mine, come to your house and meet with you. I handle most of the work inside the office. You know, they don't have to know that you work remotely or however, you know, whatever you want to say. I handle most of like the back office work. Brian handles more of the in-person with the clients, that kind of thing. And you don't have to even, doesn't have to be me. You don't even have to be like on my team or on anybody's team to do that. That's probably the best way, but you could just have your real estate license and you can refer out business. I get business from agents in other states that will call me and say, hey, my cousin lives in Pittsburgh and she wants to sell her house and move from one part of Pittsburgh to the other. If I connect you with her, will you pay me? If essentially they're saying, I will refer her to you if you'll pay me a referral commission. Again, it's like a finder's fee. We're in the broker business. Again, I'm not licensed as a broker, but I work for a broker. We're in the broker business. Broker is somebody who connects a buyer and a seller, or connects two parties, and they transact, and the broker collects basically a finder's fee, right? So you could set an appointment and then go and find another agent and say, hey, will you pay me 25% of the commission at the end of the day? And again, that kind of factors into that whole cost of sales thing and all of that, right? So that you can do. You can still coordinate showings. You can still write offers. You can still negotiate offers, mostly over the phone. You can coordinate a home inspection. You can negotiate a home inspection. Again, you can't show houses. You can coordinate with the lender, the appraiser, the closing company, the municipality, transfer the utilities, schedule the closing. You're not going to go to the final walkthrough. This is assuming that you like never drive or never go anywhere. You can negotiate the possession. You can handle the post-closing stuff. You're not going to go out and install the lock boxes. You're not going to hang the sign writers. You're not going to meet with the photographer, but you can update the MLS. Nowadays, you can collect earnest money because it's done usually electronically. You can coordinate with the photographer. You can order a sign. You can order brochures. You're not going to pick up the brochures. You're not going to go and do open houses unless, again, somebody drives you to the open house. You can respond to inquiries over the phone and email, etc. You can do reverse prospecting. You can do email marketing. You can attend trainings and continuing ed because you're doing it right now. Most of the time it's done online, or at least offered on like a Zoom. So, you know, there's a lot of things on here that you could do. The focus where the income would probably be from a job like that, depending again on what level, right? So I look at things at a pretty high level. For me, I look at if I can generate listing leads, and Jim can tell you this, when we went out and we were looking for a home for him, there wasn't a lot of houses on the market. If somebody called me and said, hey, I got my real estate license and I've got somebody that wants to sell, I'm too far away or I can't drive over there. If I refer this listing to you, will you pay me? I don't care if it was 30%. I would have said, yeah, because I know that I'm working with Jim and he's been looking for 2 months to find a house, and there's only 2 houses on the market in Elwood City right now. So I'll gladly pay to bring this house to the market, right? But I also had a woman who worked for me before, and I paid her a salary, and all she did was coordinate with lenders, appraisers, closing companies, municipalities, utility transfers, some of this other stuff that doesn't have the asterisk next to it. She did not have a real estate license. We helped her set her business up so that she was actually able to go out on her own. She created her own business. She doesn't work for me anymore as a W-2 employee. She now has her own business where for like $300, myself and other agents can pay her to still work alongside us, but we've outsourced to her. She'll help me coordinate with the lender, the appraiser, the closing companies, the municipalities, right? So that's, $300. Again, if you get a couple agents that you're working with and you do 100 of those a year, there's $30,000. It's not 300, but $30,000 is $30,000. Alexis asked, could you be listing agent and not a buyer agent? Could you be a listing agent and not a buyer? Yes. So that's essentially what I'm kind of describing. You could, of course, go one step further and you could go to the house and you could actually do the seller consultation, meet with them and say, hey, here's what we're going to list your house for. Meet with the photographer, schedule the photographer, get them into the house, get the photos, put the listing up, negotiate the offers and all of that. And when somebody calls and says, hey, we're thinking about buying a house, Can you go show us a house? You say, awesome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have Brian call you, or I'm going to have Alicia call you. We work out of the same office. I do most of the back office stuff, or I work more with the sellers. Alicia loves to work with the buyers. She loves going out and showing houses in the evening after she gets done with a 10-hour shift. Nothing makes her more happy than driving to those houses. I'm going to connect you with Alicia, and the two of you would work together. And again, that's what a team is. It is doing my best to kind of generalize this and not make it a commercial for my team, but I have people on my team that's what they do. When I focus more on the sellers and the listing leads and being in the office and the leadership and kind of coordinating all of the different agents. And when somebody says usually, hey, I want to go look at a house here, like Jim, we have an office up in Neshannock, which is closer to Elwood City than I am. I could have said, you know what, hey Jim, I'm going to connect you with so and so, and we did this a couple of times. Kelly from my team, like, hey, I can't make it at this time, but I don't want to hold you back from seeing that house, so I'm going to send Kelly from my team, and she's going to meet you there, right? Like that kind of stuff can all be whatever you want to call it, delegated, outsourced, shared. Um, so yeah, so you can focus on just buyers, or you can focus on just sellers. Okay. Any other questions? Alicia requested a KPA. Jenna requested a KPA. I will get those to you. Well, I'll hang out here for another minute or two if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, I appreciate you all getting on here. I hope it was informative. I hope I answered all or most of your questions. If there's something that you want to reach out to me about, outside of here, we can definitely do that. I think I've talked to each of you personally, so you all have my number. We talked on Facebook. So thanks again. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, everybody. And hopefully I'll be seeing you soon with your real estate licenses.
Thanks, Brian.
You got it, Jim. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. I'm going to log off here, Kristen, unless you got any questions. I know you're working, so you might be doing something else. Okay, I'm going to jump off here. She said thank you. You're welcome, Kristen. I'll talk to you later.